Hey everyone. Before we dive in, a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Remitly. If you're sending money to Ghana, Remitly is fast, secure, and super affordable. And guess what? You can save $10 to $15 on your first transfer just by using our special link. It's right below in the description, so check it out.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You're here because you want to get smart, fast on what really matters. Today, what matters is your wallet, specifically in Accra, Ghana. Looking ahead to 2025, it's a city, buzzing with energy, drawing interest from all corners, people considering a new chapter as expats.
Yeah.
Maybe those looking at retirement with a bit more adventure, and definitely the growing number of digital nomads.
Exactly. Accra is, well, it's a fascinating place where this rich cultural heritage meets an increasingly modern urban landscape. And for anyone contemplating a move, understanding the financial realities is absolutely key. We've sifted through a range of information to bring you the essential insights.
Okay, so our mission today is simple but crucial: to dive deep into the financial side of living comfortably in Accra based on the information we've gathered. We're going to unpack everything from finding a place to live, to filling your grocery cart, getting around town, staying healthy, enjoying life, and even what you might expect for education costs. Okay, let's get right into it. Housing.
Right. Housing costs in Accra present a really interesting picture, largely driven by location. In those prime areas, places like Airport Residential, cantonments, East Legon, you could see monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment ranging anywhere from, say, $500 to $2,500.
Wow, that's a huge range.
It is, and that's a significant difference, and it's not just about, fancier buildings. The premium in these areas often reflects better infrastructure, things like more reliable power and water, and also proximity to key international businesses, embassies, which naturally drives up demand.
That makes total sense. It's not just the bricks and mortar, it's the whole ecosystem around it.
Right.
But what if you're open to looking a bit further out? Our sources indicate that in the outskirts or maybe smaller towns nearby, you could find decent accommodation for as low as $200 a month.
Yeah.
That's a huge contrast and really underscores how much your address will impact your biggest expense.
Absolutely. And it's vital to remember that rent isn't the only housing-related cost. You'll also need to budget for utilities, electricity, water, internet. The information we have suggests this could add another, $100 to $300 to your monthly expenses. So even if you secure a more affordable rental, those essential services still contribute significantly to your overall housing budget. You got to factor that in.
Right. Okay. So when you're scouting locations, it's not just about the rent sign. You've got to dig into the cost of keeping the lights on and staying connected too. Now let's talk about something we all need 3 times a day, maybe more: food. What's the story with food costs in Accra?
Well, here's where things get really interesting and potentially very budget-friendly. If you're willing to embrace the local Ghanaian cuisine, you can really keep your food expenses down. Our sources highlight popular dishes like waki, jollof rice, fufu. A meal at a local eatery, often called a chop bar, can cost as little as $2 to $5.
Just $2 to $5.
Yeah, it's incredibly affordable for daily meals. And I've heard such great things about Ghanaian food waki in particular. Is it readily available everywhere or more in specific local areas?
I understand it's pretty widespread, yeah. A staple you can find in many neighborhoods. But what if you're craving something different, or maybe you want a more formal dining experience?
Then you'll definitely see the prices increase. A meal at a mid-range restaurant, according to our sources, could range from $10 to $30 per person.
Okay.
While still reasonable compared to many international cities, it's a noticeable jump from those local options. This also reflects the ambiance, and the types of ingredients used, which might include more imported items.
That makes perfect sense. Sometimes you want the local flavor, and sometimes you want, a bit of a different vibe. Now, for those who prefer to cook their own meals, what kind of monthly grocery bill might a small family be looking at?
Our information suggests a range of about $150 to $400 per month for groceries for a small family. The key factor influencing this range is really the balance between local and imported products in their shopping cart.
Right, imported stuff always costs more.
As you might expect, yeah. Imported items, often including familiar brands or specific dietary needs, will generally be more expensive due to import duties, transportation costs. While local markets offer incredible value, some expats might find certain familiar ingredients are only available as, pricier imports.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a real opportunity to manage your food budget depending on how adventurous you are with local cuisine and how reliant you are on imported goods. Let's switch gears to how you get around Accra. transportation that can really impact your daily life and your expenses.
Absolutely. And Accra offers a spectrum of transportation options. The most economical are the public transport systems like Trotros. These are privately owned minibuses that serve as a very common form of public transport, known for being very affordable but often, crowded.
Ah, the Trotros. I've heard about those.
Yeah, and shared taxis too. Our sources indicate these can cost less than $1 per trip, making them incredibly budget-friendly for getting around.
Less than $1.
Yeah.
But I imagine trying to navigate a new city's public transport can be an adventure in itself. Sometimes maybe more than you bargained for.
So, while Trotros are budget-friendly, what's the learning curve like for a newcomer?
Yeah. From what I gather, it can be a bit of an experience. You definitely need to be comfortable with a more, shall we say, informal system.
Okay. What about more conventional options?
Well, for greater comfort and convenience, ride-hailing services like Uber and Bolt are widely available in Accra. The cost for these within the city typically ranges from about $3 to $15 per ride, depending on the distance, traffic. So while more expensive than public transport, they still offer a relatively affordable and convenient way to get from point A to point B.
And what if someone is considering the independence, of having their own vehicle? If you opt for a personal car, you'll need to factor in the cost of fuel, which is around $1 to $1.50 per liter, based on our information. Plus, the potentially variable expenses of maintenance, insurance. Owning a car definitely adds another significant layer to your monthly budget.
Right. Given the availability and cost of public transport and ride sharing, what would be the primary motivations for someone to incur the added expense of owning a car? And are there any, hidden costs associated with that in Accra?
That's a good question. I imagine for some, it's about the flexibility, maybe the ability to travel outside the main urban areas more easily, or for families. But yeah, maintenance can be unpredictable, parts might be expensive.
Yeah.
It adds up.
Okay, now let's move on to a really important aspect of well-being. Healthcare. What's the healthcare landscape like in Accra, financially speaking?
Healthcare in Accra, well, it ranges quite a bit.
Yeah.
You've got the lower-cost government-run facilities, which offer more affordable care, but often experience, longer wait times and can be quite crowded. Then there are private hospitals and clinics that generally provide a higher standard of service.
Okay, and the cost difference.
The source mentions that consultation fees at private facilities can range from $20 to $100, and that's just the consultation, before considering any necessary tests, procedures, or medication.
Right. To provide context for why private options are often preferred by expats. I understand the general state of public healthcare infrastructure in Ghana can sometimes face challenges with resources and capacity.
That's often the case, yeah, which leads many expats and higher-income locals towards private options.
That's a considerable range in consultation fees alone. How do people manage the potentially higher costs associated with private healthcare?
Many expats and higher-income locals choose to take out health insurance. Our sources indicate that annual premiums for health insurance can vary quite widely, from around $500 maybe up to $2,000 per year.
Wow, okay.
So that's another important element to factor into your overall financial planning, weighing the upfront cost of insurance against potential out-of-pocket expenses for private care.
Definitely a key consideration, especially for peace of mind. Now let's talk about something a bit lighter. How do you enjoy your downtime in Accra? What can you expect to spend on entertainment and leisure?
Accra seems to have a really vibrant social and cultural scene, actually. Whether you're interested in nightlife, relaxing on beaches, or attending cultural events, there are plenty of options. As you might expect, the costs will depend significantly on your choices.
Okay, give us a few examples maybe. Paint a picture of what a night out or a weekend activity might cost.
Sure. A night out at a popular club or lounge could range from, say, $20 to $100, including the cost of drinks. Movie tickets are relatively inexpensive, typically between $5 and $10.
Pretty standard.
Yeah. And if you're thinking about a weekend getaway, maybe to a resort nearby, that could cost anywhere from $200 to $500, depending on the level of luxury and the destination. So lots of ways to enjoy your free time with options to suit different budgets.
It sounds like you can find both budget-friendly and more upscale ways to unwind. Good to know. Now, for those who might be moving with families, education costs are going to be a major consideration. What's the educational landscape like in Accra, and what are the associated expenses?
Right, education. Our sources highlight a significant cost difference between public schools, which are generally affordable for local families, and private or international schools. These are often the preferred choice for expats and some higher-income Ghanaians.
And the price tag difference.
It's substantial. Annual tuition fees at private and international schools can range from $2,000 all the way up to $20,000 per year.
$20,000 per year.
Per year, yeah. That's a very wide range, reflecting different levels of facilities, curricula, teacher qualifications, all that stuff.
That's a huge difference. I imagine the higher end of that spectrum is for like the top tier international schools catering specifically to expat families following international curricula.
Exactly. They often offer IB programs or curricula from specific countries. What about university education?
Good question. University tuition also varies considerably. Local universities generally have lower tuition fees, often costing maybe a few $1,000s per year. In contrast, international universities or branch campuses located in Accra will typically have significantly higher tuition fees, more in line with what you might expect in their home countries.
Okay. So as with everything else we've talked about, there's a spectrum of educational options with corresponding costs. Now let's try to bring all of this together. Based on the information we've discussed across housing, food, transportation, healthcare, entertainment, and let's not forget education if applicable. What might a comfortable monthly budget look like for, say, a single person in Accra?
Okay, let's break it down based on our sources. A single person aiming for a comfortable lifestyle in Accra could anticipate the following monthly ranges. For rent, maybe somewhere between $800 and $1,500. Utilities, ranging from $100 to $300. Food costs, potentially between $250 and $600, depending on eating habits. Transportation expenses, maybe $50 up to $300. Healthcare costs in the range of $50 to $200, perhaps more if factoring in insurance monthly. Entertainment and leisure spending, say $100 to $500. And finally, around $100 to $300 for miscellaneous, unexpected stuff.
Okay, so if we take the lower end of all those estimates, what's the potential minimum monthly outlay?
If you were really aiming for the lower end of each of those ranges, you might be looking at a total of around $450 per month. Maybe just under $1,500.
Okay, $4,450. And if someone were leaning towards a more premium lifestyle, hitting the higher end of those ranges?
If you were to opt for the higher limits in each category, bigger apartment in a prime area, eating out more, using ride shares often, private health care, lots of entertainment, your total monthly expenses could potentially reach around $3,700, maybe even push towards $4,000.
Gotcha. So as we've seen throughout our discussion, there's a considerable range depending entirely on your lifestyle choices.
Exactly. And our sources really emphasize that the actual cost of living comfortably is dependent on individual preferences and, crucially, the specific neighborhood or area you choose to live in within Ghana, not just Accra.
That's a really key point to reiterate, isn't it? If you're willing to embrace a more frugal lifestyle and live in a less expensive area, the information suggests you could potentially live comfortably on or around that $1,500 per month mark we mentioned.
Which is definitely encouraging for those looking for a more affordable international living experience. But on the flip side, yeah, if you're seeking a more luxurious lifestyle in those sought-after Accra neighborhoods we talked about at the beginning, your monthly expenses could indeed climb above $4,000.
Precisely. So Accra presents a really interesting opportunity. It's a city that offers, a blend of affordability, a vibrant culture, and increasing modern conveniences. However, the actual level of affordability is very much in your hands and tied to the choices you make about where you live and how you spend your money.
It sounds like with careful planning and a realistic understanding of your own needs and priorities, a comfortable and enjoyable life in Ghana is definitely financially within reach for a range of budgets.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot where your desired lifestyle aligns with the costs you're prepared to manage. It seems very doable.
Well, this deep dive has certainly provided a comprehensive look at the financial landscape of living in Accra. It's clear that while it can be a relatively affordable destination, your individual choices will significantly shape your monthly expenses.
Definitely. But what's fascinating to consider now, perhaps, is the less tangible side of this equation. Beyond these core financial categories we've discussed, rent, food, transport, what are some of the unexpected adjustments or lifestyle shifts someone might encounter when moving to a place like Accra? Are there non-monetary trade-offs to consider when weighing the balance between cost and quality of life in a completely new cultural environment? That's maybe something worth pondering as you consider making Accra your next home.
That's a great final thought. The numbers are one thing, but the experience itself, that's a whole other layer.
Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, Remitly is offering $10 to $15 off your first transfer when you use our affiliate link. It's a simple way to support the channel and make your money go further. Just head to accra-ghana.com/remitly-affiliate or click the link in the description. See you in the next one.